what's up? Welcome on section 51. Thank you for being back here for this new video. I hope you're fine. Be ready where you are, because we are going to explore a new subject, a new amazing subject here on section 51. This is the Cash Landrum UFO incident. So, guys, I don't let you wait no more. This is time to go now to this new article, this new amazing article right now. Okay, so we are on the website ufoalienreality.com, and as you can see, it was published on February 2020. This is about the Cash Landrum UFO incident. The Cash Landrum incident was an alleged unidentified flying object sighting from the United States in 1980, which witnesses claimed was responsible for causing health and property damage. Uncharacteristically for such UFO reports, this resulted in civil court proceedings. The case ended in a dismissal. A number of investigators, including Philip J. Klass, Peter Brooks-Smith, Stuart Campbell, and Brian Dunning, have questioned the details and overall authenticity of the incident. And following is an interview with Colby Landrum about the 1980 Cash Landrum incident. Colby is joined by UFO researchers Kurt Collins and Chris Lambright. Go to the video. And the video is here. This is an interview. Okay. If you have the time, I invite you to go and check on the channel, the YouTube channel Martin Willis Live Shows, where you will be able to watch the full-length video of the interview. But I think that this is the time to investigate, to dig it up, to investigate, to have more information, to dig more information about the Cash Landrum incident. And we have here on Wikipedia some informations about this incident. The Cash Landrum incident was an alleged unidentified flying object sighting from the United States in 1980, which witnesses claimed was responsible for causing health and property damage. On the evening of December the 29th of 1980, wow, that was at the end of the year, Betty Cash, Vicky Landrum, and Vicky's 7-year-old grandson, Colby Landrum, were driving home to Dayton, Texas in Cash's Oldsmobile Cutlass after dining out. At about 9 p.m., while driving on an isolated 2-lane road in dense woods, the witnesses said they observed a light above some trees. They initially thought it was an airplane approaching Houston Intercontinental Airport, about 35 miles away, and gave it little notice. A few minutes later, on the winding roads, the witnesses saw what they believed to be the same light as before, but thought it was now much closer and brighter. They said that the light came from a huge diamond-shaped object which hovered at about treetop level, and that its base was expelling flame and emitting significant heat. Landrum told Cash to stop the car, fearing they would be burned if they approached any closer. A born-again Christian, Landrum interpreted the object as a sign of the second coming of Jesus Christ, telling Colby, "That's Jesus, he will not hurt us." Cash said she was anxious and considered turning the car around but abandoned this idea because the road was too narrow and she presumed the car would get stuck on the dirt shoulders, which were soft from that evening's rains. The adults say that they got out of the car to examine the object, but that Colby was terrified, and so Landrum said she quickly returned to the car to comfort him. Cash remained outside, mesmerized by the bizarre sight, as Jerome Clark wrote. He went on, "The object, intensely bright and a dual metallic silver, was shaped like a huge upright diamond, about the size of the Dayton Water Tower, with its top and bottom cut off so that they were flat rather than pointed. Small blue lights ringed the center, and periodically over the next few minutes flames shot out of the bottom, flaring outward, creating the effect of a large cone. Every time the fire dissipated, the UFO floated a few feet downwards toward the road. But when the flames blasted out again, the object rose about the same distance." The witnesses said the heat was strong enough to make the car's metal body painful to the touch. Cash said she had to use her coat to protect her hand from being burned when she finally got back in the car. When she touched the dashboard, Landrum claimed her hand pressed into the softened vinyl, leaving in an imprint that was evident weeks later. Investigators cited it as proof of the witness's account, however, no photograph of it exists. The witnesses say that the object then ascended over the treetops and rose higher in the sky, and then a group of helicopters approached it, surrounding it in tight formation. Cash and Landrum counted 23 helicopters and later identified some of them as tandem rotor Boeing CH-47 Chinooks used by military forces worldwide. But why 23 helicopters? With the road now clear, Cash says she drove on, claiming to see glimpses of the object and the helicopters receding into the distance. From first sighting the object to its departure, the witnesses said the encounter lasted about 20 minutes. Based on descriptions given in John F. Schussler's book about the incident, it appears that the observers were southbound on Texas State Highway FM 1485 to 2100 when they claimed to have seen the object. The initial location of the reported object, based on the same descriptions, was just south of Inland Road, approximately at 330.0926 degrees north, 95.1109 degrees west. And we have health problem claims. The witnesses claimed that after the UFO and helicopters left, Cash took the Landrums home, then retired for the evening. That night, they reported all experienced similar symptoms, so Cash to a greater degree. The claim was that they suffered from nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, generalized weakness, a burning sensation in their eyes, and feeling as though they were suffering from sunburn. Over the next few days, that seems like a surexposition to big radiation or radioactive waves. Over the next few days, Cash said her symptoms worsened, with many large, painful blisters forming on her skin. When taken to a hospital emergency room on January the 3rd of 1981, Clark writes, Cash could not walk and had lost large patches of skin and clumps of hair. Wow. She was released after 12 days though her condition was not much better and she later returned to the hospital for another 15 days. That looks like some cancer. In a 1985 HBO documentary, UFOs What's Going On, Cash claimed she was treated for cancer after being exposed to the radioactive UFO. That's what I was saying. Exactly. That's a bit scary. The Landrum's health was somewhat better, though reportedly both suffered from lingering weakness, skin sores, and hair loss. But I guess that the pilots of the 23 helicopters who apparently were there too, maybe they had the same symptoms, and because they also were exposed to the radioactive UFO, unless they were well protected by some special clauses, I don't know. A radiologist who examined the witnesses' medical records for MUFON wrote, "We have strong evidence that these patients have suffered secondary damage to ionizing radiation. It is also possible that there was an infrared component as well." However, Brad Sparks contends that although the symptoms were somewhat similar to those caused by ionizing radiation, the rapidity of onset was only consistent with a massive dose that would have meant certain deaths in a few days. Since all of the victims lived for years after the incident, Sparks suggests the cause of the symptoms was some kind of chemical contamination, presumably by an aerosol. That's difficult to believe. Eventually, Cash and Landrum contacted their US senators Lloyd Bentsen and John Tower, who suggested that the witnesses file a complaint with the Judge Advocate Claims Office at Bergstrom Air Force Base. And in August 1981, Cash, Landrum, and Colby were interviewed at length by personnel at Bergstrom Air Force Base and were told that they should hire a lawyer and seek financial compensation for their injuries. With attorney Peter Gersten taking on the case pro bono, the case wound its way through the US courts for several years. Cash and Landrum sued the US federal government for $20 million. On August 21st of 1986, a US district court judge dismissed their case, noting that the plaintiffs had not proved that the helicopters were associated with the US federal government and that military officials had testified that the United States Armed Forces did not have a large diamond-shaped aircraft in their possession. The incident received coverage in both the tabloid press and mainstream media. In 1981, Landrum appeared on That's Incredible, a popular ABC television program. She was hypnotized in front of a studio audience. Under hypnosis, she recounted the UFO incident. Landrum and Cash both appeared on the 1989 US television special UFO Cover-Up Live, hosted by Mike Farrell, where they related their account of the purported UFO encounter and their subsequent medical problems and legal battles. The Cash Landrum event was also depicted on television programs Unsolved Mysteries and Sightings. In 2009, Colby appeared on UFO Hunters Alien Fallout. Cash died at the age of 71 on December the 29th of 1998. Bizarre. December the 29th, 18 years after her claimed close encounter. Landrum died September the 12th of 2007, 7 days before her 84th birthday. Landrum telephoned a number of US government agencies and officials about the encounter. When she telephoned NASA, she was steered toward NASA aerospace engineer John Schuessler, long interested in UFOs. With some associates from civilian UFO research group Mutual UFO Network, MUFON, Schuessler began research on the case and later wrote articles and a book on the subject. Astronomer Alan Hendry of Center for UFO Studies, CUFOS, also briefly investigated in the Cash Landrum case. Due to the Chinook helicopter's presence, the witnesses presumed that at least one branch of the United States Armed Forces witnessed the object. If they were not escorting or pursuing it, however, investigators could find no evidence linking the helicopters with any branch of the military. In 1982, Lieutenant Colonel George Saran of the Department of the Army Inspector General began the only thorough formal governmental investigation into the supposed UFO encounter. He could not find any evidence that the helicopters the witnesses claimed to have seen belonged to the US Armed Force. Saran stated that Miss Landrum and Miss Cash were credible. The policeman and his wife, who claimed to have seen 12 helicopters near the UFO encounter site, were also credible witnesses. There was no perception that anyone was trying to exaggerate the truth. In 1998, journalist and UFO skeptic Philip J. Klass found few reasons to doubt the story by Cash and Landrum. When Schuessler inspected Betty's car in early 1981 and used a Geiger counter to check for radioactivity, he found none. But this is not a good indicator. Presumably, he also checked for radioactivity when he visited the site of the alleged incident and found no abnormal radiation. Schuessler provides no medical data on Betty's health prior to the UFO incident, nor does he provide any medical data on the prior health of Vicky or Colby. In 1994, UFO skeptic Stuart Campbell suggested that the witnesses may have observed a mirage of Canopus, which lay exactly in line with the road. Also, it was 26 degrees below the horizon at that time and location. What is Canopus? Canopus. Alpha Carinae is the brightest star in the southern constellation of Carina and the second brightest star in the nighty sky. Okay. It is outshone only by Sirius. Its proper name is generally considered to originate from the mythological Canopus, who was a navigator for Menelaus, king of Sparta. Okay. Other UFO researchers point out that high-energy ionizing radiation of the kind that can cause damage to human beings, such as gamma radiation, does not induce radioactivity in objects and would not have left behind any residual radioactivity in the area. And that would be my point of view too. I would agree with that. Similarly, skeptical British ufologist Peter Brooke-Smith writes, "Skeptics have always asked a blunt and fundamental question. What was the trio's state of health before their alleged encounter?" Brooke-Smith also wrote, "To ufologists, the case is perhaps the most baffling and frustrating of modern times. For what started with solid evidence for a notoriously elusive phenomenon petered out in a maze of dead ends, denials, and perhaps even official deviousness." In December 2018, Brian Dunning investigated the case and reported his findings on the Skeptoid podcast. He found that Cash's doctors not attributes her hair loss to the autoimmune disease alopecia areata. that her other symptoms could be caused by illness that started before the incident. Of course, that's sure. That's bizarre, this habit for UFO skeptics to always consider witnesses of UFO incidents as full people or people who are sick with illness. That's becoming very tiring. And that's very disrespectful, I think. And that Landrum's only documented illness is developing cataract in one eye, of course, yes. She has a lot of disease, apparently. Dunning concludes, in my experience, it's completely plausible that Cash and Landrum wrongly but honestly placed the blame for their health problems onto whatever they saw, and even pushed the truth a bit, trying to get the Air Force to pay for it. Oh yes. When you believe in your heart that the Air Force did something wrong that harmed you, you don't necessarily feel that it's wrong to exaggerate evidence, like seeing the words Air Force on the side of the helicopters, adding on symptoms to people who didn't have them, even faking sunburn spots on your arm, as long as it's in pursuit of what you believe to be just settlement. Yes, but in that case, I think, of course, you always meet in your life, you always meet some crazy people who are capable of doing anything in order to get some money or to make some legal actions to get some money. But in that case, that's becoming very serious and that's going very far. How can you believe that people would be able to provocate sunburn and very heavy sunburn on their skin and in order to simulate exposition to radioactivity? That's very bizarre. That's very difficult to trust. I don't agree with that theory, and I understand that Dunning can think like this because you have always you always have to be safe and to be careful with people and with what they are claiming, and this is his job. But sometimes you cannot you cannot discuss the fact that these two women had serious wounds and they came to hospital, and it was you have also witnesses in the hospital, some nurses and some doctors who witnessed the wounds and the sunburn due to the radioactivity. And I think that the demonstration of Dunning is going too far. And it's not enough neutral in that case. Okay. So that was very interesting, that Cash Landrum UFO incident, I think. And I hope that you liked that video. Maybe you didn't know about the Cash Landrum UFO incident, or maybe you didn't know. I hope that it was helpful for you to discover this UFO incident that happened in 1980. Personally, I didn't know about it. That's a premiere for me, and that was very interesting to dig it up. Thank you for watching. This was DozGeek on section 51. Until the next video, don't forget to like, to share, to subscribe if not already done, and keep your eyes open, keep looking at the sky, stay open-minded, that's very important, keep dreaming, keep watching section 51, and stay safe. This was DozGeek on section 51. I send you big kisses. Thank you for your support, for your kindness, for your kind comments. See you in the next video. Bye!